Hello and welcome to the JTrain podcast. This is JTrain Jared Freid coming to you live from Boca. That's right. It's a Chit Chat Wednesday. And today's guest is Matthew Broussard. He is a fantastic comic with a really awesome stand-up special that is out right now. It's been out for a couple weeks. The link to the stand-up special you're watching on YouTube is right in the description of this episode. So go save that link. Go watch it now, then come back here and meet Matthew or meet him first, and then go watch the special. It's so good. We talk about some of the jokes in it, the ones I love the most. He has a joke about a letter from his mom that is just fantastic. And we talk about what most comedians end up talking about, and it's bad shows. We exchange war stories, so to speak, about shows that we had to do. And I only brought it up because it's New Year's Day. Happy New Year. Welcome to the new year. Welcome to 2025. So on a day like today, you like to talk about bad shows because New Year's shows are generally pretty tough. So Matthew and I talk about bad shows and these excruciating circumstances we have gotten into just to, get a check and do the thing that we love to do. And then we talk about his special, which is so good. Go watch it. The link is below. And enjoy today's episode. Boom. Welcome to the new JTrain podcast. Hello and welcome to the JTrain podcast. This is JTrain Jared Freid coming to you live from Boca. That's right. Every Wednesday is a Chit Chat Wednesday where I chit chat with a friend. Very excited for today's guest. They have a new special out on YouTube. You can watch it right now. It has over 125,000 views. It's already crushing. Been out a couple weeks, and you are going to love it. It's called Hyperbolic. Matthew Broussard, thank you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. I specifically haven't been watching the view count because I know how.
Oh, I'm sorry to do that to you. Oh no, it's like when the doctor announces your weight and you're like not looking at your weight.
Well, my weight has gone down, so I'm happy about that. That's great. That's great.
I think you've done well. This is good. I was excited for you. I was like, 100,000 to me is like you've done it.
Me too. I had like specific. I've like set dates on my calendar at which I can check it because I will check it like. I'll make graphs of like, how did the last 3 minutes compare to the last 3 minutes before that? Is it trending downward?
This is exactly what I wanted to talk to you about. Your comedy doesn't match your face.
Thank you.
Do you get that a lot? Do you feel that? you are meticulous. This is like, if someone knew comedy or thought, again, judging books by its covers, and you do this a lot during the special. You make fun of your looks. You acknowledge that you look a certain way, and and the special's great. Everyone needs to go watch it. I watched it while playing golf today. I had it like, I have the magnet on the back of my phone, and I put it on the cart, and I was like, I just enjoyed. I was like, wow, I'm living in the 21st century. I'm like killing it right now. I'm playing golf. I'm watching a great special. So it is perfect. You can watch it anywhere. It is edible because I don't think a lot of stand-up specials, like the jokes are really well done, so well written. There's not an ounce of fat. Let me take a comment. I know you don't want to look at the comments, but I found one comment and it like nailed it. I didn't know you could. This is a comment, okay, on your special. I didn't know you could put that many jokes into each joke so good.
That's nice.
Isn't that a nice comment?
That's very nice. I grew up on a lot of like hip hop, like cheesily enough, Ludacris, Nelly were albums I listened to backwards and forwards, Eminem, obviously. But like they were lyrics where you'd go read the lyric, you go, oh, I have to like, what does that mean? You'd read the lyric and there were like 2 or 3 things in a line that you're like, oh, that's very clever when you actually like slow down and listen to it. So I always kind of like that idea of like, how can you kind of like condense it so that every sentence is something funny, and even if you don't get everything, there's enough of the stuff you do get that it's pretty satisfying.
Well, there's so much comedy now, there's so much content, so to speak, out there that this is like, I would say, like, I'm gonna blow smoke up your ass, but I mean it. It's like this is like, it's satiating. This isn't junk food. You're going to get a lot out of every line. Every joke is going to have and my favorite part was the joke, I was laughing out loud, like, having a great time with the letter that your mom wrote to your, are you guys married yet? Your fiance.
Yeah.
It is such a fantastic joke, the way you describe it, and I'm not going to give it away, but like that was like, again, you took like a real story and then you put like this like joke behind it. And I was like, oh man, this is where, this was great.
Thanks, but that's my favorite part of the special too. I'm glad you like it. I think
unreal.
I write a lot of like jokes, and that's one of the moments that's just very vulnerable, very, very real in terms of I'm really truly just reading this letter. And I put a lot of work on my jokes, and it was so fun to just go on stage. Here's something that actually exists that I don't really have to like embellish. I have it written in ink. And
I thought about that actually, because I was like, in the beginning, it's like, I would say this isn't meant to be this is supposed to be positive. Like, I was like, this is like 2024 Borscht Belt done well. Like, it's like set up punch, and then you talk about this letter, and it does change the tone of the special. And you're like, oh, okay, this is like, and they both work, but that was definitely, I was like, oh, this is like a real thing that happened. You can't make this letter up.
Thank you. It was fun. I tried to set up my fiance, set up who my mom was through a series of, more accessible jokes. And then, I mean, just comic to comic, the line I'm maybe most proud of in that special and took me so long to write was the pause after the first two sentences of the note. And I go, listen, the hardest part of writing is just getting started.
Right.
That line was, it's not like it's not an uppercut by any means. It's ha ha ha, keeps going. But like to find what to say there. I wanted to read the whole note. I thought that the start to her letter was so interesting. Like what a weird, and I couldn't typify why it was funny. And I was trying to get analysis. It probably took me like 2 years just to figure out what to say there. And when I got it, I was very proud of just that little embellishment.
And you're right, because it's you basically saying like, I have to acknowledge how crazy this is my mom.
Yeah.
This is a crazy letter that you're allowed to laugh at, because I'm going to let you know, like, this just by doing that joke, that pause is like, I'm with you guys. Like, this is actually crazy.
This is a weird start, and it wasn't. No one thinks that's going to be the first one. There's a lot of anticipation and dread when you hear, okay, what is this crazy, literally crazy woman about to say in this letter? And it's so benign and so unaware. That it's just a good little 3-act play she wrote for me.
It's great. Everyone needs to go watch, especially the description is in the the link is in the description of this episode wherever you're listening or watching on YouTube. Do you get annoyed that you have to make the joke about your looks to do your jokes?
Yeah. Yes. I tried to minimize it on this special. I've done a lot of sets in the past, and the first few sets I've done on TV, late night, all that was get a quick joke out the gate. I look like this, and then I used to harp on it for longer. And then over the course of the years, I'm like, I'll always give people that because I know they deserve it. It's the Krusty the Clown phenomenon. No, I'm sorry, the Sideshow Bob phenomenon. It's fun to see someone with status take themselves down, and I have the visage of someone with status. And I've tried to.
Not to interrupt, but I'm annoyed for you because the jokes are so smart, and it's like, the audience that would like love it the most is like the Brooklyn smart people who feel in on the joke and like get every reference and get it, and they're almost the ones that are like the most that you have to make that joke for.
The most judgmental, the most prejudicial in a benign way. But yes,
right. That would annoy me. I'd be annoyed.
What's that?
I was annoyed for you. I'm like, because like you're like, oh, these are smart jokes. These are so well written. And it's like, oh, also for you, Harvard asshole, to be in with me, I need to like tell you I was on the lacrosse team. Like, you need that, you fucking asshole.
It's always fun to get the laugh, but like it's fun to do it later.
Right.
What I've tried to do more and more as I've gotten further into comedy is just like give him that, but give it to him later in the set. See how much you can win him over, and then once I usually say something, everything works a little better. So I like the challenge of not. And I've talked like Matteo Lane does such an amazing job with it, where he goes, "Hi, I'm gay, obviously," and then he starts his jokes. Like It's like, I'll give you this obligatory thing that you have to have, and I'll give it to you, but we're going to make it quick, and then we're going to do what I want to do. So,
Right.
so I don't imagine I'll ever, until I lose this, whatever this version of me is visually, and I look forward to that freedom or whatever the new vehicle might be.
It's the judo of it. I get it in like Brooklyn rooms that I have to like. I understand it. Like I don't think I'm like, you know, a gorgeous man, but I know in Brooklyn that like or rooms like that. I'm using Brooklyn as like the whatever, but like that you have to be like, hey, I'm not what you think I am, or even like it's hard also to like. I talk about my dating life, and I have to like acknowledge that like. I'm gonna say things from my perspective, but I'm not like here to like be mean to anybody. And I think like straight man talking about dating, like it's not really an opinion anyone's looking for in certain rooms.
Right. And you do have forgive me, a bit of a a bro,
right,
a Penn State patriarch guy who could. You need to show them, I know the nuance of all this before I do comedy, which is going to scrape away the nuance and must and has to.
Right. I also have it weirdly. I'm in Boca right now. I'm at my parents' place, and I go to the club. They're in a country club community. So I go to the club and I like get coffee and play golf, and I've been doing all that stuff. And a woman came up to me. And she goes, she goes, oh my God, I'm such a fan. And I was like, thank you. And I go, that's so nice. And she goes, I hope you know how great you are. And I go, I'm okay with myself. I was like, I think I'm okay. And she's like, no, you're just so self-deprecating. And you don't, you look okay. You look okay, right? And I'm like, this is making it worse. Like I was like, I'm like, am I sad to you? Like like, do you get it or don't you get it? Like.
Yeah, I had that last night. I walked up to Ismail Lufi and John Rudnitsky, who were talking, and they were talking to each other. They go, yeah, man, let's hang out this week. Let's catch up. God, it's been a while, man. Let's hang out. And I go, guys, I'm right here. And they got to laugh. And then John goes, no, man, it's just I've been out of town. I'm like, dude, if you make an excuse for it, then it suddenly does get sad. If you like her with like, that's not that when you try to reassure me, it only reinforces the original.
Right. Knock. Just like leave this aside. I can get through this without you holding my hand through this.
The laughter at it was catharsis enough.
Right.
And I think you and I have something similar in that, like I might be a Dane Cook comp visually, and you might be a Brett Ernst comp visually.
Sure.
And there's such a training of decades of comedy that when you see those types, you think, and obviously those are great comics, but like you're a little more, okay, who are they going to pick on? And I think you and I tend to have the thought of the best victim is always yourself. Like, right. 100% of the time, if you make yourself the butt of the joke, everyone can get behind that.
That's why, like, I've been even recently, I was like looking for new ways to describe myself, and you do that so well, where you're like, you find new ways to like make the joke about yourself that's even better. You're like, I got to go smarter on this, like keep digging the hole of like, how do I describe? And I describe myself as tissue box shaped, and. I was like very happy with that to like, oh, I found a new one. I don't have to like say chubby Jew anymore. I could say tissue box shaped and like, and then if someone's like, oh, stop calling yourself fat, you don't look fat, I can be like, no, I'm boxy. Like I didn't even say that,
Boxy. I remember that. I remember that from, we've talked about this before. It was one of the funniest things I've ever seen anyone post. It was a picture of you, and you posted something, and a woman had sent it to her friend with the caption, he's just so boxy. And
yes.
She had actually sent it to you.
Right. Sent it to me. That getting reviews of you sent to you, again, the reading the weight off of the scale when you're trying not to see it. Like, I didn't need to know I was boxy. Now I know it. Now I have a joke about being a tissue box shaped Jew.
A missent or a CC'd roast battle.
Literally, just ran into a stray, found a stray. What do you... Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say your news. I don't know if you recorded it or not. The vacation story, is that on your new special?
So that's a new one I just taped a couple weeks ago. So
I've seen you do it at the Cellar. Really impressive, man.
Thanks,
It really
man.
has something I admire. It's obviously ridiculously funny. It's story based. It's character based. That's the best comedy to me. But it also, you start out from a place of status with the joke, and you might have done this on purpose. But it's just so hard to acknowledge wealth or luxury in a way that doesn't immediately lose the crowd, and you do it and somehow get the crowd harder. It's just very impressive. It's
Thank you. I kind of walked into this thing of like, I mean, we see it. We see it on stage every night where it's like, we know when someone's like victimizing themselves versus telling you the truth. Like, like, because we know that like there's a hashtag that's, like, I think, have you started cutting up your special yet? Have you started like making clips from it? Mm-hmm. Are they they got to be doing great, because
I'm pretty happy.
Yeah, because I was like, the joke either has to be really good, which you have so many good jokes in here. I mean, I read the comment. That comment is true to form. Or you got to like put the hashtag of like what tragedy you're trying to mine to get people to like listen to you. So I think like, I'm kind of thinking like, well, I don't have that hashtag and I'm not a good enough writer. So I'm going to go so relatable about the thing that no one wants to talk about. It's that they go on vacation with their parents. And I was like, that's kind of the direction with that. But hold on. Your mom or your girlfriend made me think, or fiance, how do they get along?
Oh, that's a great... So there was an incident during the pandemic where Laura very sweetly and very stupidly helped my mom look at different old persons communities and drove her down to Florida. We went to 5 in 2 days. And as we were driving back, my mom was starting to get real grouchy and nasty. And Laura clapped back. My mom kind of took a dig at me, as she does. And Laura clapped back in my defense. And I was like, oh, look at this. This is... I'm playing Street Fighter with the two biggest villains in my life. And it was so fast. It happened. The volume of both of them went from kind of stern to screeching. And then Laura goes, and you can get the fuck out of the car. And we went from 75 miles an hour to 0 on the shoulder of a Florida interstate. And my mom's out the door. Laura has kicked my mom out of the car. It resolves quickly, but this was one of their early like interactions, just a blistering little fight. And my mom likes Laura more than anyone in the family. I think she earned her respect that day.
Is that what it is? Is that like punching the biggest guy in the yard, going to prison, and showing that you're not to be messed with? I've had issues with this with my mom and people I've dated. That's why I'm asking you. And I know that like, you talk about your mom, you talk about Laura in the special. Like, these are two strong-willed individuals. How do you deal? Like, what do you calm both down? Do you take a side? Do you take no side? Are you even? What do you do?
I typically side with my fiance for my own survival.
Yeah.
But after that, they've really gotten along. My mom's burned a lot of bridges in her life, but Laura and Anne are. I think when you have a fight like that early on, it kind of lays it on the table, and you know the extremes. You kind of you've done the drills, so you know how to deal with all of it, and there's no more artifice. It's a lot of I grew up around Southern WASPs who are very, very formal, very rarely will speak what they feel. My mom's Jewish. There's a lot more directness with that.
Yeah. Laura
has learned to be Laura's an odd mix. My fiance's an odd mix, but in that moment learned how to be direct, and it's fun to see them get along. The note, oddly, of all the things I said about my mom, including the Hartsfield Jackson story about her, like almost starting a race war at the airport.
That story is unbelievable.
100% true. I'm embellished nothing. Let me stress that the stories about my mom. There's obviously moments where I'm saying something for a punchline. The mom stuff is the truth, and I had to cut out some more even ridiculous details to fit it in. But my mom doesn't like the note. I told my mom, I was like, can I read this on stage? She goes, sure, good luck. And then she saw me doing it as show. She goes, why is everyone laughing?
Well, that's I'll never forget it's the truth that hurts the most. You go, well, what? Like, I did a joke on the Tonight Show. Before you do the Tonight Show, they have you do that the rehearsal, and the rehearsal's for the camera people and like your friends that you brought. So my friends that I brought were my parents, and they're sitting in these chairs watching me do the rehearsal. It's really awkward. It's literally like 7 people watching me do this, and I do this joke about my mom ordering coffee at Dunkin' Donuts and how she can't do it and how a mess it is. And literally did the rehearsal, the 5 minutes I have chosen to do the Tonight Show with, and my mom goes, "Don't do the coffee thing. I don't like that one." And I'm like, "Don't do the coffee." I go, "This is the set." And my dad goes, "She doesn't like it. It's too true." Like, he's like, she doesn't get that this is like even funny. She's like, "Don't do it. I don't like." And I'm like, well, this is being done. This is being done in 30 minutes.
So many layers for the people who don't know, you have to run that by so many different people. It's timed out to the second.
Right.
Yeah, it's scripted.
I was like, we sent in a literal, we wrote this out, like a trans, what is it called? A transcript of the whole thing. What are you doing for New Year's? Before you get into that, what you're doing for New Year's, we have a sponsor, Nutrafol. See, Matthew Broussard and I are blessed with the hair genes, okay? We are doing okay. If you are sitting there having a moment with your hair, Nutrafol, I think, is a great first option. And the reason for that, 100% drug-free ingredients. So if I'm going to do something for myself, I'm going to start with the drug-free route. It's time to put your hair issues to rest with Nutrafol. Nutrafol is the #1 dermatologist-recommended hair growth supplement brand. Trusted by over 1 million people. See thicker, stronger, faster-growing hair with less shedding in just 3 to 6 months with Nutrafol. It's physician-formulated, again, 100% drug-free ingredients. It supports healthy hair growth from within by targeting the common causes of hair shedding, like stress hormones, age, nutrition, lifestyle, and metabolism. My mom likes it. She's been using it for a while. She's a tough customer. The fact that she keeps reordering it tells me everything I need to know. I've seen a difference for her. She has felt a difference. You will too. Get started with Nutrafol and make 2025 your best year yet. Start your hair growth journey with Nutrafol for a limited time. Nutrafol is offering JTrain listeners $10 off your first month subscription and free shipping when you go to Nutrafol.com, enter promo code FEATHER. Find out why over 4,500 healthcare professionals and stylists recommend Nutrafol for healthier hair. Nutrafol.com, spelled Nutrafol.com, promo code FEATHER. That's Nutrafol.com, promo code FEATHER. Here with Matthew Broussard. The special, I'm looking at it right now. It's on YouTube. It's called Hyperbolic. It is fantastic. You're going to love it. Mark it and save it for a snowy night, or just watch it now on your phone while you golf like I did. What are you doing?
Listen, it's also, I mean, I'd
good
like to
listen,
watch it, but I keep it pretty dense audio wise. So yeah.
Good listen. No, I mean it's really great. I really enjoyed it. What are you doing New Year's?
I'm
New Year's
Philly
Day right now.
Night.
You're in Philly?
Helium. Yeah.
How do you feel about a New Year's show? Are you excited? Are you annoyed? Because I opted out this year. I New Year's Eve shows, I was like, it's a Tuesday. I don't want to do it. And that was me.
Yeah. Mark Normand isn't doing a New Year's Eve show this year. He's Laura, my fiance, is very good friends with May. They live around the corner. And I'm like,
yeah,
that is success to me.
Right.
Not doing New Year's Eve means you made it, because to people who don't know comedy, no matter how famous you are, you're not getting your crowd on New Year's Eve. You're getting the crowd.
Right.
I am luckily in Philly, a city where I tend to vibe very well with the average comedy goer. I am at the Helium Comedy Club there. Which
it's also great club.
Top tier club right there downtown, perfect size, not too big. That I'm looking forward to. Laura's coming with me. It always makes it better. But it also is nice where it's just like, well, the show's going to be done. It has to be done by this time. And there's no got to stick to clothes to do all that. So that's that. I dream of one day being able to say no to New Year's Eve.
I would say this. You have the best case scenario because you are in a club that Helium Philly, it has a reputation for being a very good club.
Yeah.
It's downtown. It's a easy to drive ship. It's not too big. Mm-hmm. I think New Year's Eve in a theater would be a disaster. because you can't really like talk to the crowd. You have to do this theater act. People come in too drunk. And they want their New Year's Eve. I think as far as comedy is concerned, you have the best case scenario. I think the worst part of New Year's Eve shows to me was always, and you might not have to do it, is they want someone to do the countdown.
Yeah, I don't mind that. Just get all the comics on stage, goof around. I like having a little like thing on stage that's not my stand up. I'm always just I'm anxious about the time. I'm anxious about closing with enough time to go. Yeah. Worst show. What's that?
What I would host. I remember I hosted at like Stand Up New York back in the day on New Year's Eve, and I'm like, and they're like, okay, Jared, go up and do the countdown. And like, again, the way you just put it made it sound like took a lot of the air out of it for me. Like, oh yeah, all the comics will go on stage, we'll fuck around, 3, 2, 1, clink glasses. But I had this thing where it's like, I actually felt, and this is like tells you everything. Like I was like, who am I to count in someone's New Year? Like I actually felt like self-conscious that like if I were in the crowd looking at me, I'd be like, this guy is how I'm ringing in. Like
you start your year with fraud syndrome.
Yes. In multiple years I did it because I'd be hosting too. So like they're like, he's the host. Have him do the New Year's. And I was like, don't make me do this. Like I was like, it's funny that like I have the ego to go on stage and tell my jokes, but not the ego to like, or not the delusion that I should be someone counting 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 for someone to move into their next year. I don't know.
I mean, it is when you think about it in terms of mental real estate for a group of 100 or 200 people, you are one of only 70 they get in a lifetime. They get maybe, or memory-wise, 60. 60 or so you really get. And you kind of remember them all, or you can at least kind of force yourself to remember them all. And now you've earned, a speed dial in their New Year's Eve memory books.
And if they watch Dick Clark and Ryan Seacrest, I'm like probably like if they've watched Ryan Seacrest or Dick Clark over the years, multiple times, now that I'm like a percentage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even think of it that way.
Who else? Who are the big ones? Dick Clark. Yeah, Carson Daly. One of my worst shows ever was a New Year's Eve show. Like truly, like top 5 worst ever.
What was it?
Got booked for Little Rock. It was just a Hilton in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it was just people paid tickets for a night, just a general night there. So a very generic crowd who didn't.
It wasn't a comedy night, or was it like?
I'll tell you, run a show. I believe it started at 9:00. I was to go up twice for 20 minutes each, it was like 9 to 9:20, and then again from 11 to 11:20, and do 2 different sets. And you'll get this. It was kind of like the other events of the night. There was a really good band. There was maybe like an auction. There was a dance-off. All these little 20, 30-minute blocks throughout the night. When I am introduced on stage, the room feels much like a bar mitzvah, the dance at a bar mitzvah. There's a square dance floor, food around it, people mingling around it, except when I went on stage, the dance floor cleared out, and I had in front of me an empty wooden floor. There's half the size of a basketball court. Right. And then everyone was around it, moving around it, talking to each other. So the murmurs in the room stayed well above the noise floor of any laughter I was getting. So it was just true bombing. Trying to talk to the crowd. Did a little slideshow because I always use that as a bailout. I do the little Monday Punday game show. But man, tried to do anything and everything. Like 8 people walked up to the front and stood there, no chairs, and just politely, And there was this guy, the guy who picked me up from the airport was like, "We're gonna have a great night tonight, man. It's gonna be so fun. You can do comments, your stuff online, man. Talk about looking like a douchebag. That's funny, man. You do look like a douchebag. Just And then get out there. I do 20 minutes. What's that?
So you do the 20 minutes and then you get off and then they bring you back?
Oh, here's the part that made it the worst night of my life. I get off, I walk into the little back room, green room. There's dancers and everyone who was nice to me before. Now it's like I smell bad. And now people aren't as smiley and just that shame. Yeah, everyone knows I bombed. They watched it. And I walk over, sit down alone. The table clears. And the same guy who was, so excited to pick me up from the airport goes, "Hey man, great job. Here's your check. We're not going to do the second part. You're good."
I mean, you're probably happy, but also like there's that thing in you that like, I got to do the second part. I can't believe.
I was not. Yeah, I was happy. It was. Yeah, there was no pride in me that wanted to go back up. I knew it was going to be even worse before. It's all some of my worst shows ever have been when you have to go up repeatedly. And I picked up the check and it felt like a Horcrux. It felt evil and hot in my hands.
Well, I always think of stand-up. First of all, the atmosphere and like the room and how it's set up is like way more important than anyone wants to acknowledge. And they don't want to acknowledge it because no one believes they don't like comedy.
Right.
Like, so everyone says, I like comedy, which I like to laugh. Like, there's a very small percentage of people that are like, I hate laughter. I hate funny things. Everyone believes themselves to have a good personality, to be funny, or not funny, but like get the joke. If it doesn't take the most optimistic person or the most confident person to go, I like comedy, I like to laugh. Everyone says that. So if you say to them, well, let's make sure the chairs are set up well, they're like, I like to laugh. What are you talking? Why would that matter? I like to laugh. I get comedy. I don't need the chair to be in the right place or the lighting to be right or the volume to be right. They would never think that because that is almost an attack on them.
It is. It's an attack on humanity itself.
Right. It's not them specifically. It's humans.
An automaton who responds algorithmically to set stimuli. Yeah, it really removes people's and to a similar extent production value of comedy. My therapist said something that haunted me. He was like, I saw this clip of this young comic online. It was so funny. I thought it was so great. And then he said, a couple weeks later, he goes, I saw another clip. It was the same joke. Just all the same words, all of it, but it just wasn't funny. And I knew why. It was poorly lit. He was zoomed out. The quality was grainy. You couldn't hear the crowd as well. Maybe the comic's timing was a little slightly different or the captions weren't as good. And he even said, if I had seen them in the other order, I wouldn't think this comic was funny at all because I would have seen the not funny version. I thought, that's not funny. He's not funny. And then when I saw the jokes better, I'm like, no, I already heard this joke, so it's not very good to me. Just how I think we as comics go up there and like we focus group people in a way that is very dehumanizing. And the geometry of a room, the low ceilings, the reverence for the room, like you have to feel like you're in an austere kind of setting.
Right. Well, I always think of it when I'm on stage and I'm thinking of a set, and you mentioned it with your special, like I'm going to do some jokes to set up who these people are so they can get to the story that I want to tell. It's like, to me, it's like taking a plane off. Like we're gonna take off, and then we get up to cruising altitude, and once you get people to cruising altitude, we're set. We got smooth sailings, and then I got to land the plane, and I got to bring it down. So I think of a set that way. And if you can't, if you're given no opportunity to get the plane off the ground, you're almost flying at 4,000 feet through the clouds, and it's bumpy the whole time. And you need to get it off to establish credibility and the tempo. You made me think of a show I did once. It was a fundraiser in like Western Massachusetts for like Little League baseball, and I remember they had this DJ, and the DJ's like pumping out the jams, and these parents are having, like, you could tell, like, it didn't take much for these parents to have a fun time. They needed a night. And people, I remember they're dancing to Come and Ride the Train, the Choo Choo Train. They're literally like, these parents, they're all like 40s, 50s. They're like humping each other grind lines. And then they're like, okay, Jared, we're going to do comedy now. And I go, why would you stop this? Everyone is having a good time, like, and they literally go out of the dance where they go, okay, get off of each other. We're gonna do comedy time, and I'm like, no, the plane is lifted off. I don't need to take my plane off. Like, this isn't necessary.
Music is a spaceship. Music is not a plane. Music is like a good '90s cover band at the corner of a bar on a hot Friday in Houston, Texas. Has killed harder than Dave Chappelle ever will. Like,
I agree.
Musicians kill on a level we cannot. The worst show I've ever done, if we can share this story,
please.
Truly the worst show I've ever done was a college show It was in like an old gymnasium. I was emceeing a music festival that had 3 bands.
Okay.
30 minutes up top, bring up the first band, does whatever, 40 minutes. Another 15, second band, another 15, headliner. The first 30 minutes was abysmal because it was just all the autistic kids who get there early and come alone.
At a college show, that's how it goes. Yeah.
Every college show, there's an autistic kid who gets there early alone and sits in the front row and has a better time than anyone else there, no matter how
Loves
you
it.
do. Loves it.
Yeah.
Loves it. And then 30 minutes into your set, you ask them a question and they talk uninterrupted for 60 full seconds.
This does exist at every college show. You're right.
I was performing to 20 of them sitting on the floor of a gymnasium for 30 minutes. The first band does great. I do another 15 minutes. Now the crowd's all kind of wishy-washy all around and mixing up, and some drunk kids are there. I just play games with them for a little bit. Bring up the second band now, and it's like 3 of the hottest dudes you've ever. They look like the Jonas Brothers. They're dressed like the what's it called? Panic at the Disco, like hot eyeliner, just big arms that burst through their leather jackets, and they just fuck the crowd for 40 minutes. They just air thrusting, fucking the crowd, and everyone's horny and dancing. And I go up there, and I've never felt this with a crowd before. The energy in the crowd did not dissipate over time. The cheering, the roaring, you just, on basic physics, you expect the inertia to kind of exit the system, the energy to kind of dissipate outwards. They just stayed roaring. And the band is, by the way, the band is moving stuff out behind me on all of these interchanges. The band's moving stuff out. I'm just supposed to do 15 minutes somehow. And even more demoralizing, the crowd starts slowly chanting, "Take your shirt off" at the dude, at the band guy before me, which hurts my feelings. And then I turn around. They're not on stage. They're chanting it at me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm flattered, but also I got something to handle. I say the dumbest thing I've ever said in my whole life. I go, if you guys get quieter, I will. They get louder. So I put the mic in the stand. I did something I've never done before or since. I walked off stage before my time. I walked straight up to the manager with a clipboard. I go, "Hi, the crowd is sexually harassing me. Do you mind if you just let me know when the headliner's ready and I'll bring them on?" They go, "Yep." They hand me the check. Neither of us said a word about any of it.
Unbelievable. Everyone go follow Matthew Broussard. Go watch the special. It is called Hyperbolic. It's on YouTube. The link is in the description of this episode. Matthew Broussard, thank you so much. This was fantastic. Thank you for coming on.
Looking forward to your special.
Dude, thank you. We will be back next week. Boom.